Hey friends out there, Scott here on a hot summer Arizona day. And on a hot summer Arizona day, one of the things we think about here is cold, refreshing drinks. Now oftentimes I just reach for a beer, but you can't always do that. 9 o'clock in the morning, you're thirsty, it's not a good idea to start with beer. But one thing you can reach for is a good prickly pear fruit drink. Now I've gone out today and I've harvested some fruit from the prickly pear, and I'm about ready to prepare it, and I'm going to show you how that's done. Okay, so you can Google or YouTube how to clean prickly pear fruit, and you'll find lots of different ways to do it, but I've found this to be the most simple and the easiest way to do it. One of the first things is you have to wash the fruit very well. You see here how these little tan spots all over this fruit? Well, and you can even see right there some needles. Prickly pear fruit is loaded with tiny little needles that are called glochids. And they're not harmful, but they're just irritating. So if you get them in your skin, it can be just a little bit annoying. So the first step is to wash off as many of the glochids as possible. Now I put all the fruit in a colander, and I'm going to turn the faucet water on full blast, and I'm just going to vigorously shake the fruit and run the water all over them to get as many loose glochids off as possible. And you can jiggle the fruit around. It's pretty solid, so don't worry about harming it at all. Then the next step that I do is the water should be on cool actually. I take each individual fruit with a pair of tongs and pick it up. Use a toothbrush, not the same one you brush your teeth with, and carefully brush off the fruit as you see me doing here. Okay, so now I have washed all the fruit off, and hopefully I've got all the glochids off. It won't surprise me if I find a few. Again, they're not harmful, but they're just a little bit annoying. My hands are leathery, so you may want to use gloves. But the next step in this process is to take the fruit and cut off each end. So we're going to make a cut to get rid of the bottom end and the top end, as little as possible. Then we're going to slice the fruit lengthways, and we're going to use our fingers to peel the skin off. And as we do that, you see all of that delicious juiciness inside there. Very moist, soft. You need a little bit of fingernails to do this with. So we peel it off all the way around. And if you don't get every bit of it off, that's fine, but as much as possible. And look at that meat. Look at the juices dripping out of that. Deep purple. Toss that in the blender, and we'll do that to the rest of these. Okay, so we've got the fruit all cleaned and peeled, and it might be a good time to mention that this fruit is very purple, and it stains, and now I'm going to be in trouble because I purpled up my wife's tea towel. Look at my fingers. Can you see those? Very purple. So be careful not to get it on anything that you don't want to stain. All right, so the next part of this process is we put these fruit in the blender, and I think I have, 14, 15 pears in there. We're gonna add 1 cup of water. I just use tap water. You can use purified water if you wish, but tap water works just fine. So we add in the cup of water. We securely put the lid on the blender, securely. There we go. And I choose blend. No, actually I choose liquefy on our blender here. Okay, had a slight blender malfunction there, but we've got it fixed now. Liquefy. What was that, 30 seconds or so? Anyway, you liquefy it for about 30 seconds. Okay, so now we have blended the fruit. And one of the things that I need to mention at this point is inside of that meat of that fruit are a bunch of seeds. Now you can ingest those seeds, they won't hurt you a bit, but it's just more pleasant without the seeds in it. So now we're gonna sift this juice through a, typically if you were to, like me, you would use a sieve. I didn't have a sieve, so I cut a piece of an old white t-shirt, and we're gonna filter this juice through that old white t-shirt. Oh, a little bit of a leak there. So you can see as we pour it in, that's fine. We can just pour it all right in there like that, and then I'll pick it up. But you see that, see all those seeds that are falling in there? We want to filter those out.
So we can sell them.
Actually, they're probably destroyed by now after being blended. All right, so I typically take the mesh and squeeze. See all that delicious juice running out of there? Again, make sure you're not getting this juice on anything that you don't want to get stained, because it will stain. So the sifting process here sifts out all the seeds, any skin that I may have left on when I was peeling them, glochids that may have still been in there. But you want to make sure that you squeeze all of that juice out. Now I suppose with a cheesecloth, it may not be quite as labor intensive, but we didn't have a cheesecloth. Okay, so those few steps netted us about 16 ounces of prickly pear concentrate. Look at that good frothy, thick juice that we made from those pears. So we store ours. I always use a mason jar. I've heard of folks storing them in ice cube trays. Pouring this concentrate into ice cube trays and freezing it. But I drink mine so often that I just put it in a nice mason jar, and that's where I keep it, in the fridge. You can make so many different kinds of things from this. Prickly pear juice can be used to make a variety of drinks, alcoholic and non-alcoholic. It can be used to make syrups, jams, jellies, sauces. So much versatility to this juice. One of the drinks that I like to make commonly, it's one of my favorites, I call it a prickly pear spritzer. I don't know if that's the right name for it, but that's the name I've given it. I take a shot of pear juice, put it in a tumbler with about 4 ice cubes in it. Lemon lime drink, I use Sprite. You can use 7-Up, you can use generic. Top it off. Look at that. Delicious, refreshing, prickly pear drink. Enjoy it. Thanks for joining us today. We sell prickly pear fruit in our Etsy shop on a seasonal basis, typically in August and September, in our Etsy shop at oldpuebloemporium.com.